First, I just want to show a contrived example so that I can illustrate when the Ionic 2 lifecycle events fire. Here I am on the tournament page. And what I've just done is I've added several of the lifecycle events. IonView loaded, IonView will enter, will leave, and did unload. And you can see each one is just doing a console log statement to tell which event it's inside of at that moment. Now let's go navigate to that tournaments page. When I do, you can see the IonView loaded event and the IonView will enter lifecycle events were invoked. Let's now go to the next screen. We can see the IonView will leave also got logged, but you'll also notice that screen did not get unloaded. Let's now go back. The IonView will enter just got invoked. Now let me go back one more time. If I go back all the way, of course, I get IonView will leave, but this time I also got IonView did unload because it was popped completely off the navigation stack. So this illustrates when each of these events fire. So one rule of thumb to keep in mind is if you want data to be loaded when the page first loads into memory, you're going to use the IonView loaded event. But if you want data to be retrieved every time the page is navigated to, even if it's just from a simple back navigation, then you should use one of the other events, such as IonView did enter. Right now, we have hard-coded tournaments on the tournament page. Let's replace these hard-coded tournaments with an actual HTTP call to our web API. Here I am back in the tournaments page, and I'm going to add an import for the Elite API service. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a property for tournaments. I also want to make sure that I inject the Elite API into the constructor. Now in the IonView loaded method, let's invoke that. I'll say this Elite API get tournaments, then this.tournaments equals data. And I'm not even going to need these anymore, so I'm just going to take those and delete those. So the IonView loaded is when I've chosen to invoke this method. So the first time the page is loaded, it will go out and make an HTTP call to get those tournaments. However, if the view is shown again on a simple back navigation, it won't go fetch those tournaments again. Let's go to the HTML counterpart, and let's add an ng4 to this first item. And I'll say let item of tournaments. That's that tournaments array we had. And in the item tapped, we'll just add the event and the item. Now we don't want this hard-coded anymore. So we'll say item.name. And of course, we need to remove this other hard-coded button. Let's flip back to the tournaments page. In the item tab, now we're passing some real data. And we'll actually send that tournament that's selected as a navigation parameter to the teams page. Now let's rerun the app. This time, when I came into the tournaments page, I can see there's now 4 tournaments, no longer the hard-coded 2 tournaments that we previously saw. So it actually went off and made an HTTP call to our web API and got the tournaments. I can go to the team screen, and if I go back, we still see the data there, but it didn't actually go out and refetch that data. Let me prove that to you. Let's go to the network tab. I'm just going to completely refresh the app. We'll go to find a tournament. There's the tournaments JSON call that was just made to get that data. We can see the data in there. Now I'm going to go to the teams page. Now if I go back, we see tournaments.json was not reinvoked. However, if I go back again and pop that off the stack and now come back into it, it will get reinvoked. So this is an illustration of the Ionic 2 lifecycle events. It's good to understand the nuanced differences between some of these events so that you can load the data at the appropriate time for your app.